Don't you just love butterflies? And don't you love TK Fridays? On today's episode, it's a full edit of a butterfly image with downloadable notes and a downloadable image so you can follow along with me. Stay tuned, it's TK Friday. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Hey, it's TK Friday, my favorite day of the week. Thanks for joining me again. Go ahead and download this image. I have a Dropbox link in the description below this video. This is a PSD file. It's been denoised. It's ready to go and it's a great way of learning. And I also have some PDF notes for you. I feel like I'm getting better at making these PDF notes and I'm really excited about these. So go ahead and download them. It's a great resource for you. I have a lot of information here. They're a lot of fun to make, and they take some time, but you guys are all worth it. I'm glad to provide these PDF notes for you, and I appreciate all of you who tune in every TK Friday. Thank you so much. If you're enjoying these notes, please let me know in the comments section below. I really need to hear from you. And please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me to grow this channel. You know, it's all about that YouTube algorithm. Use my affiliate links to purchase products. I really appreciate that. Making these YouTube tutorials, believe it or not, is my life's work at this point. And I love doing this. It's the best job. It's not really a job. It's too much fun to be a job that I've ever had. Speaking of great products, if you don't yet own the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, why don't you? You need it. It's inexpensive. Go ahead and grab it. Use my affiliate link. You'll find it in the description below this video. And don't forget, you can also get the TK8 plugin with the video guide along with it. It's a great value. And don't forget to use my promo code DK15 at checkout. You'll save 15% off anything you purchase at the TK8 web store. Training videos, the whole works. And like I said, you're helping to support my channel and helping me to keep these videos coming your way. All right then, sit back, relax. Let's get editing. And this is going to be a lot of fun. Last week sometime I was sitting out on my porch and I looked up, we have a butterfly bush, and I saw a swallowtail butterfly gingerly dancing around it. I grabbed my iPhone and ran up there because I didn't have time to get my camera, and I got some images. The butterfly was so patient, I don't even think it knew I was there, so I was able to grab this shot. If you have an iPhone or a smartphone, they're great cameras, and we have great software today like Topaz Gigapixel AI where we can upsize the images. And then in Photoshop, we have the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. My goodness, we can get some really good editing from a smartphone image. Use your smartphone. I mean, the best camera you have, as they say, is the one you have with you. And who doesn't have their phone with them at all times? There'll be 9 steps to this image today. We're going to start out with balance and contrast. We're going to select the butterfly. We're going to save that as a channel. And then we're going to add clarity to the butterfly only. Then we're going to reduce the brightness of some of the leaves around the butterfly. And then we're going to add a bit more saturation to the butterfly. We're going to hand paint that on through a selection utilizing the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. Everything's done by the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. We're going to add a really cool glow, and I got a really good blend mode to show you today for that glow. It typically uses a soft light blend mode, but we're going to use a linear dodge add blend mode. It's going to be really cool. I know here in this picture it looks too strong, but we're going to take care of that. We're going to soften the background with the reverse clarity action, and then we're going to add a vignette to it, because what image doesn't need a vignette? And we're going to add some finishing touches, a make it glow action, which really will make this butterfly be very happy. By the way, this was shot as a raw file with my iPhone. I'm going to do my opening step, which I always do. It really helps me out, and that's balance and contrast. So I just clicked on the luminosity mask icon. I always use a Mids 3, which protects the shadows and highlights from getting clipped. I output that to a color grading tool. I'm going to start out with the shadow slider, click on that black block, and I'm just going to pull that back a little wee bit like that. We're going to go to the midtones, and I'm just going to open up those midtones. Not too much, but a little bit. And then we're going to go to highlights. Now, I'm going to take the highlights, and I'm going to pull the highlights to the left. And that just makes sure I'm not clipping anything. Well, I can't clip because of the midtones 3, but I just want to ease off in the highlights to add a little bit. I don't know, it makes the butterfly look a little bit more delicate. And then I'm going to take this highlight block and drag it up into this yellow area right up in here. It's just going to help the butterfly look a little more yellow. And here is the before, and here is the after. But that is balance and contrast, and it's not a bad idea to name your layers. I'm not going to do it because this video will go on forever. Okay, I'm overstretching that a bit. Next, I want to select out the butterfly. So on the CX or combo panel, we have this button right here. Click it and we select our subject. Now the TK CX or combo panel is a great way of speeding up a workflow. $29 minus 15% is worth it for that alone. Now, as you can see when I zoom in, it's more than selected my butterfly. It's also selected these leaves and some of this flower back here. This flower is slightly out of focus, so I'm not really worried about it, but we'll take care of that and I'll show you how. And the notes are very detailed on what to do, by the way. After we get the butterfly selected, we're going to go ahead and save this as a channel because we'll be using this again on another layer or two. And I like to call saving selections as setting yourself up for success. We're going to grab the object selection tool. Now here's a little tip with the object selection tool. If you want to remove something, hold down your Option or Alt key and drag. It'll keep the remaining selection, but it'll remove things from it. The other thing you want to do is make sure you're in this lasso mode here. I sped the video up here, but I'm just holding down that Alt or Option key and lassoing out these areas. And this is pretty fast and effective, but sometimes it'll miss some spots. Let me go ahead and zoom into this flower. Can you see these spots it's missed in here? Grab your lasso tool. You can just type L. And again, hold that Option key down and you can just lasso around all that stuff like that. And it's gone. And I think there was another spot over here. See that right there? It missed it. Hold your Alt or Option key down and grab it. If you don't hold it, your other selection will go away and you won't be happy. Oh, and I missed one right up here for some reason. Let me go ahead and get my object selection tool and hold the Alt or Option key down. Don't mess that up. And I got it. Oh, and here's a little spot here. Let's see if the object selection tool will get it. Yes, it has got it. Now, some areas it has missed, like if we look in at the butterfly right here, this is where you're going to hold your Shift key down. Hold your Shift key down and just go around like these areas like that. See how it adds it back in? I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, but that's how you do it. And I am back. And it's a good idea to work very close because you can really see things up close. Sometimes I forget to do that, believe it or not, but go very close and look around. Now, I missed some spots here because I know a lot of us will miss spots from time to time, and I'll show you a really cool way we can take care of this kind of stuff with the TK8 plugin for Photoshop. So let's do that next. By the way, you see the selection indicator around the color grading tool. That lets you know we do have a selection. But I need to get out of this color grading tool because it's hiding my multi-mask panel. So click this X right here. Now, this is very important when you want to really check out a selection. This is the edit selection icon. When you click this, you're going to see your selection. I don't know if you can see this. Let me go ahead and zoom in here. Can you see these little white little streaks around the leaves and stuff, little bits of residue that it's left behind? We can fix that. And you notice I have some stuff over here and I miss spots in here. But let me show you how cool this is. We can fix this up really easy because we got a bunch of tools in here. We have dodge and burn tools. We have paint brushes. We can do a lot. So let's do it. I'm going to click this black brush not black, Dave, white. I need white because you know what I want to add here. There's a shortcut to change your brush size. Now I'm referring to a Mac. It may be the same in a PC, but I don't know. If you do know, let me know in the comments section below. But hold your Control and Option key down. You can make the size larger or smaller by dragging your mouse to the left and right. If you drag it up and down, you can change the hardness. Now I'm going to use a fairly soft brush, around maybe 39%. I'll make it a little bit smaller. My brush sometimes looks bigger in the video. It's due to the editing software. And if you'll notice here, you see how it's kind of like light red in there. That's letting me know I have a low opacity. I'm going to change this opacity to 100%. The shortcut for opacity changes, you can use your number keys. 1 will give you 10%, 3 will give you 30, 0 will give you 100. So it's important to learn shortcuts. It'll really speed up your workflow. Now look, I can just paint like this. This is fun. This is part of the joy of editing. You just paint around. You can whistle. You can sing. We can get all these little areas. I'll make my brush smaller when I want to clean up little areas. Like right in here. Now I'm going to make my brush very small. And again, zoom in. I can't say that enough. Zoom in because it'll make your brush painting a lot easier. Look, there's a little spot out here. I'll grab my black brush and paint that out. Now I'm going to go back and get my white brush again. And make sure you look very closely and get everything. Or I sped the video up a little bit here. And here's some areas here. Oops, I got the wrong brush there. And just keep painting away. And eventually you'll be done. Rome wasn't built in a day, remember that. But it's fun, and you got to have a good heart, a good attitude. And look, I'm messing up, but I'm still happy. I'm still painting away, and voila, it is done. And here it is. This is our selection. Now we need to save it out, and we have a save icon right here. So click save, give it a name. I'm going to call it Butterfly because, hey, it's a butterfly. Wasn't that brilliant? Click OK, and it's saved down here in channels as Butterfly. We're going to use it for a clarity action next. I want to point out, you see where it says TK8 selection here? That's what is being used in the background to make this selection. Click this X and we'll get out of there. Now you'll notice here we still have a selection. We don't have to deselect it, but I always recommend going here and click deselect. Some of the actions and things, when you open up an action, we're going to use a clarity action. When I click this, you'll notice my selection goes away. You see that? Some actions that doesn't happen on. Most of them it does. It's a good habit to get rid of selections, and I go over that in the notes too. This action uses a high pass filter in the soft light blend mode. We're set up with a default radius of 10 pixels. For delicate subjects like a butterfly, really detailed areas, 10 pixels is usually really good, and that's what I use. So just click OK. Now that entire image has got this clarity adjustment on it. Let me zoom way in so you can really see it. Here's before the clarity action and here's after. So it makes a big difference. It's not overblown, but it looks really good. Now all that work we just did making that butterfly channel, which we can use as a selection, there's two different ways we can go about adding it to this clarity layer because we only want it to go to the butterfly. So we can either come up here to my channels and click butterfly, and I have two butterflies there because I had one saved from my initial edit. So disregard that. You're only going to have one butterfly. So I could come here and click on this second butterfly because that's the one I just made. And there it is right there. And then we could apply it to the layer by clicking this button right here. And you see it's applied to the layer and only the butterfly. Here's the second method. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this by clicking right here. It gets rid of that mask. The other way, and it's a quicker way, it's one step quicker, is this button right here. Select a channel and it will apply it directly to the layer as a mask. So there's two different ways of doing it. Did you know that? Let me know in the comments section below if you did or didn't. Let me go ahead and zoom in and let's take a look. Here is the before and here's the after. And it's only on our beautiful swallowtail butterfly. The next step is to darken down these leaves a little bit. They're a little bit too bright, but we can use an object selection tool to do that. So I'm grabbing my object selection tool, holding my shift key down and grabbing these leaves. Now just keep your finger on that shift key and keep grabbing the leaves. You can be very sloppy here. It doesn't really matter. It missed this little spot, but I'm going to grab it here by holding the Alt or Option key down. Now you can go into Select and Mask and refine this Photoshop Select and Mask, but I didn't do that. I felt these selections look decent, and I think I could use a little feathering, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Now let's go up to the Edit selection again and take a look. There's our selection. To go back to the image with the marching ants, click this button right here. Now what I'm going to do is grab a curves adjustment layer, change it to the multiply blend mode. We have buttons up here. Here's multiply. Click on multiply and you see the leaves are real dark. And you can see the selections pretty good but not perfect. But we'll take care of that. Now let's take the opacity. I like to take it the whole way off and just build it up slowly like that. Just darken them down a bit. Here is the before and now here is the after. But if we come up here to the properties panel and click on this little square with the circle in the center, we have feather here. And I feathered this, I think, to around like 4 pixels or something like that. It just smooths out the edge a little bit. I'm going to close the properties panel. Now here is the before and here is the after. Another way of seeing your mask, we're on this layer. If you click this icon here, the two arrows, you can see our mask, but see the feathering on here. Now let me go into the properties panel. Let's go back and look at that mask and see we have density. It'll make the mask look lighter when we drag it back. It's good for fine tuning. I don't want to get into that right now, but check the feathering out. See how we can really make it feathered. I mean, we could really feather it to oblivion, but that little bit of a 4.5, 4.6. Look at the nice smooth edge. Pretty cool. Don't forget that. That's a great tip. And then click this icon again. We go back to the image. And now for the next step, I think I want to bring up some of the saturation on this butterfly. Not too much. This is going to be subtle, but sometimes subtlety can be very good in its own right. So let's go ahead and add a hue saturation adjustment layer. And what I did was really brought up the saturation because I'm going to be painting this adjustment on through a selection. So that looks horrible, right? But let's put a black mask on this to hide that adjustment. So just click on this black mask icon. And now we're going to come up to my channel. So click on my channels. Now remember, I have two butterflies because my original edit had this first butterfly. But let me show you how to get rid of a channel. This is a good opportunity. Let me click X. Come down to my channels. It's this butterfly right here. Click on that. Click on this trash can. And Photoshop will say, delete channel butterfly. Yes, and it is gone. So now we'll come back up here to my channels. Click on butterfly. I only want to select the actual yellow part. So we're going to get a mask calculator. So click on the mask calculator. X for intersect. I hope you're catching on to this intersect. It's very powerful. Let's X out of here. We'll click on the color mask icon. And I sampled a color like right around this area right here and click OK. Now we can refine it. It's a weak selection. But we can take this adjustment slider and like really brighten it up. Let's brighten it up the whole way. And if we want more, I didn't show this in the notes, but we can click on the levels and I can take this midtone slider and drag it more to the left. Make that a stronger selection. Take the highlight slider, drag it into the left, make it stronger. I just don't want to lose any detail in here. And that's good. And now we can go ahead and click equals. And now we have the butterfly and we're only selecting the yellow color of the butterfly. Now we just have to figure out how we want to output this mask. I want to output it to a black mask with a white brush, painting through a selection because I want to build this up slowly. The selection indicator lets us know we have a selection. With my brush tool at 50%, I'm going to type my 5 key and let's start painting some saturation. Now, if it's too strong, you could always go down in opacity, and at one point here I do go down. I sped up the video just to save a little bit of time, but I'm just painting away. You can be sloppy here, get all the areas that you want. While I was painting, every time I lift my brush, I add a little bit more paint down each time, you know. It was at 50%, and there were some points when I even took it down to like 30%. That's why I like painting through a selection. You can be very specific about where you want to apply your paint. Now, remember, I used that levels adjustment, so my effect's a little bit stronger than it was on my first edit. So I'm going to take the opacity, take it the whole way off, and just build up with this opacity slider as much as I think I want. I don't want to go too much here and make it look unnatural, but I just want some of that saturation. And I think 54%. Here's the before and here's the after. Now he has a lot of nice color. Bear in mind, this is a non-destructive workflow, and I highly recommend at the end of your edit to go back and look at each one of your layers and do any adjustments that you feel you need. You may say, hey, that saturation's too much. This has too much clarity, and you can go back because even that clarity adjustment, it's a smart object with a high pass filter adjustment. You can go back and readjust that. When you're done with the edit, evaluate the image and adjust your layers accordingly. The next thing we're going to do is add a glow up in this corner, a yellow glow. See, I have some sunlight coming through here, and I think it's kind of nice, but I'd like more glow on this whole area in here. So we're going to come up here to Workflow Extras, click this icon, click on Color Gradient. There's 2 different color gradients. I'm just going to do this one now. Now, when you do, you see you have a move tool. This comes up by default, and you can take this glow and move it anywhere you want. It starts at the center of the screen, but let me show you something here. You see where it says scale? Right now we're at 100%. You can drag this to the right, and you can go up to like 1,000%, or you can go down to 1, and you see that little dot right there. Let me make it a little bit bigger. You see that dot? This is your glow, and you can resize it. So I'm going to come up right in this area, right up in here. And now I'm going to take this scale and make it larger. I think something like right about there looks good, and click OK. Now it defaults at a soft light blend mode, but I was experimenting with blend modes. Let me open up these blend modes. A linear dodge add. See that? Now that's way too much. I'm going to click it because I want it. It's not in these blend modes up here because it's not one you use all the time, but it works really well for glows, so remember that. Okay, our glow is too strong, so we can adjust the layer opacity, and I took it down to, I think, around 34%, and I think that looks good. But we got to take care of the butterfly. I don't want the glow on the butterfly. Let's get that adjustment off the butterfly. Now, we could come here and add it this way if we want to, but I'm going to go to my channels, and I'll show you why. I'm going to click on butterfly. But look, I can invert this because right now it's going to only allow it to be on the butterfly. I don't want that. So if we click this invert button, now it's only going to be on everything but the butterfly and really up in this corner here. So now we just have to apply it to the layer by clicking this icon right here. And now look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And I love the way the light is spilling over on this flower here. I think it looks really good. But now looking at it, I think I can use more. So I'm going to take the opacity and drag it to the right and let my eye tell me what it likes. And right here at 46%. Here's the before and here's the after. I really like it, but don't forget about that linear dodge add blend mode. It works great for glows. We're on the home stretch now. I'd like to soften the background a little bit. To do that, I'm going to do a reverse clarity action. You've seen me do this before if you watch my TK Friday videos. So click on the TK action button. Let's get a clarity action by clicking on clarity. And I'm going to change the radius to around 40 pixels, somewhere in there, give or take. It's not that critical. Click OK. Now it's going to add clarity to the entire image. That is not what I want. I want to reverse it. So if we come right here, there's two invert buttons on the TK8 CXer combo panel. This will invert a pixel layer. This will invert a selection right here. So don't get fooled. So let's click this. It inverts it. Now my entire image is soft. Now I'm going to do something a little different. Now I could come up to my actions and grab the butterfly mask, and then I can invert it like I did before. But right now I've already inverted this mask, so I'm going to do a little trick here and steal this mask. Hold your Option or Alt key down and click on this and drag it up. It'll copy it onto that layer. And just like that, we are done. Here's the before and here is the after. I think it's a bit too strong. So again, we can take our opacity and I'm going to drag this back to right here, 56%. Again, before and after. And this is an iPhone image, so pretty amazing. I'm getting some nice compression here. I shot this image with an iPhone 13 Pro Max in Pro RAW, and in that mode, I can use a 3x telephoto lens, and it gives me a little bokeh. I normally shoot with the Lightroom app in RAW, DNG RAW, but for this kind of a thing, this 3x in Pro RAW gives you that nice little bit of bokeh background. 2 steps and we're done. Back to TK Actions. I'm going to add just a basic vignette to this image. Click OK. I always choose the radius that it gives me. I'm going to cut my opacity down to about 30%. And I also like to double click right here and get the layer style and blend diff. I'm going to take this triangle right here and drag it over right about here. And then hold my Option or Alt key down and split this and feather this off. Okay, right about there looks good, and click OK. Here's the before and here's the after. Now I killed my glow up here, but you know what? I can fix that. Click on the layer mask, get yourself a black brush, click this icon right here. Get a nice big soft brush, 0% hardness at 100% opacity, and I'm just gonna paint that off like this. Okay? Just so it stays off of my glow. I don't want you on my glow vignette. Okay, so here's the before and here's the after. And now I have a nice subtle vignette, which is very helpful. And now at this point, it's like finishing touches. What can I do? Well, I'm going to come down here to TK Actions and let's grab a Make It Glow action. And I'm just going to accept this radius and click OK. And check that out. Isn't that beautiful? Let's take a look at it without the glow. Here's the before. And here is the after. And you know what? I like it at 100%. I'm just going to leave it right here. Let's take a look at the overall before and after image. I'm going to click on my before and after action. Here's the before. And here is the after. I think it's quite an improvement. I really love the way this one turned out, and I hope you give it a try. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to another end of a TK Friday. It almost makes me a little sad. I really enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks, iPhone, for helping me to grab this butterfly shot. If you enjoyed this tutorial today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, happy editing!